Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that someone had broken into your house overnight. They didn't take your TV, they didn't take your car. They took something far more valuable, and here's the terrifying part. Your wallet looks exactly the same as it did yesterday. Same bills, same balance, same numbers on your screen. But you are poorer than you were when you went to sleep. No alarm went off, no one kicked down your door, no crime was committed. Because what happened to you is completely 100% legal. Stay until the 7-minute mark, because that's where we show you the exact accounts wealthy people use to make inflation work for them instead of against them. You felt it. Everyone has. The grocery store that used to cost you $80 a week now costs $130. The rent that was manageable 3 years ago is now a crisis. The coffee, the gas, the electric bill, everything costs more. But your paycheck? It moved. A little. Maybe. Most people look at this and think, prices are rising. But that is not what's happening. What's actually happening is far more deliberate, far more calculated. And it has been used by governments for over 1,000 years. This isn't a bug in the system. It is the system. And today we're going to pull back the curtain on the most sophisticated legal wealth transfer mechanism ever invented. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. First, we need to talk about something most people have completely backwards. What is money? You might say it's currency. It's what I earn and spend. But here's the truth that changes everything. Money is not value. Money is a promise of value. A dollar bill has no intrinsic worth. It's linen and cotton. It's ink on fabric. What gives it value is your belief, and everyone else's belief, that it can be exchanged for real things. Food, land, labor, time. Now here's where it gets dark. If money is just a promise, who controls the promise? Governments do, central banks do, and they discovered something a long, long time ago. If you need more money, you can simply print it. Not rob a bank, not raise taxes. People notice that. People vote against that. You just print. And when you print more dollars, every dollar that already exists becomes worth a little less. It's like cutting a pizza into 20 slices instead of 8. The pizza didn't get bigger. Your slice just got smaller. That is inflation. Not prices going up, your money going down. Now let's follow the money, because this is where the heist actually happens. Step 1. A government spends more than it collects in taxes. This is called a deficit. And almost every major government runs one, almost every single year. To cover that gap, they issue bonds, basically I owe us, and sell them. Step 2. The central bank in America, that's the Federal Reserve, buys those bonds. And to buy them, it creates money from nothing, digitally, with a keystroke. This is called quantitative easing when they want it to sound sophisticated. We're going to call it what it is, money printing. Step 3, and this is the part nobody talks about. That new money doesn't arrive everywhere at once. It enters the system at the top. Banks get it first. Large asset holders get it first. The government and its contractors get it first. They spend it when prices are still normal. By the time that money filters down to the average person, prices have already adjusted. So the wealthy man buys a building for $1 million with new money. Then inflation hits. That building is now worth $1.4 million. He didn't get smarter. He didn't work harder. He was simply first in line. And you? You got the money? Last, after the prices already rose, after the purchasing power already evaporated. This effect even has a name. Economists call it the Cantillon Effect, named after an 18th century economist who first described it. Remember that name, Cantillon Effect. We're going to come back to it in a moment and show you which side of it you can choose to be on. Now, if this sounds like a conspiracy theory, let's look at the receipts. Ancient Rome didn't print paper money, but emperors discovered they could melt down gold coins, add cheaper metals, and mint more coins with the same face value. The result? Prices rose, trade collapsed. The Roman economy was destabilized, partly by their own currency debasement. 1920s Germany. The Weimar Republic printed money to pay war debts. Within years, a loaf of bread cost 200 billion marks. Workers were paid twice a day because by afternoon, the morning's wages had already lost value. 2008, the global financial crisis. Banks made catastrophic bets and lost. Ordinary people lost their homes, their jobs, their savings. The government's response? Print trillions. Bail out the banks. The stock market, owned largely by the wealthy, recovered and boomed. Home prices surged, asset prices surged, the rich got dramatically richer. 2020. A pandemic hits. The U.S. alone injects over $5 trillion into the economy in under 2 years. By 2022, the highest inflation in 40 years. Grocery bills explode, rent surges, working-class families are crushed. Meanwhile, at the S&P 500 hit record highs, the pattern is always the same. Print, transfer, inflate, repeat. Here's why this heist is so perfect. It's invisible. If the government announced, "We're cutting everyone's salary by 8% this year," there would be riots in the streets. But if they print money and inflation quietly rises 8%, most people just feel vaguely worse off. They blame the grocery store, they blame corporations, they blame gas stations. And those entities do capitalize on inflation, that's real. But the root cause, the origin point of the heist, it's monetary policy, it's the printing press, it's the system. And the most devastating psychological trick of all, they taught us to measure wealth in dollars. I have $50,000 in savings. That sounds great. But $50,000 in 2015 could buy what $72,000 barely buys today. Your number stayed the same. Your wealth disappeared. Saving dollars in a world of money printing isn't saving, it's slow motion loss. So what do the wealthy actually do? The secret isn't complicated. In fact, once you see it, you'll wonder why nobody taught you this in school. Wealthy people do not store their wealth in dollars. They store their wealth in things that go up when the dollar goes down. Let's break it down. Number 1. Real estate. When inflation hits, property values rise. Rents rise. The mortgage, borrowed in OLD dollars, gets paid back in cheaper future dollars. The wealthy don't just own homes. They own debt-financed assets, using the bank's money to buy things that inflation makes more valuable. They weaponize the system against itself. Number 2. Stocks and equity. Companies own real assets: factories, land, inventory, intellectual property. When inflation rises, those real assets rise in value too. Stocks are imperfect inflation hedges, but over long periods they outpace inflation consistently. The wealthy don't let their money sit in savings accounts. They own pieces of companies. Number 3. Commodities and hard assets. Gold has been a store of value for 5,000 years, not because it's shiny, but because no government can print it. Oil, agricultural land, timber. These are real things. Inflation cannot eat them. Number 4. Debt used strategically. This one makes most people uncomfortable, but it's one of the most powerful tools in existence. If you borrow $500,000 at 4% to buy a real asset, and inflation runs at 6%, inflation is literally paying down your debt for you. The bank lent you $2,024. You're repaying them with $2,034 that are worth less. This is exactly what governments do with their own debt. They borrow, then inflate the debt away. The wealthy learned by watching them. Now, none of this means you need to be a millionaire to protect yourself. In the next 60 seconds, we'll tell you exactly where ordinary people can start. Right now. You don't need to be wealthy to stop being a victim of this system. But you do need to understand one fundamental shift. Stop thinking like a saver. Start thinking like an owner. That doesn't mean going broke on risky investments. It means understanding that holding idle cash in a low-interest account, in a world where governments print money, is a guaranteed slow loss. Start by learning about index funds, low-cost, diversified ownership of the economy. Learn about I-bonds and Treasury inflation-protected securities, government bonds that are designed to rise with inflation. Learn about the difference between an asset and an expense. Understand that your financial education is the most inflation-proof investment you will ever make. Because here is the final truth. The inflation heist has been running for 1,000 years. It will keep running. The government is not going to stop. The banks are not going to stop. But you now know something that most people never figure out. The heist only works on people who don't know it's happening. Now you know. If this video opened your eyes, share it with one person who needs to see it. Subscribe if you want to keep learning what they don't teach you in school. And comment below, I see it now. So I know this reached you. The next video, we go even deeper.